Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today I will be discussing about the story of the hour by Kate Chopin. Kate Chopin wrote this story in 1894. The story begins in the house of Brantley and Louise Mallard. Louise has a heart condition, so her sister is trying to break the news of a railroad disaster that killed that has killed her husband. With no moment of denial and disbelief, Louise bursts into tears. She retreats to her room alone, and soon her emotions calm. Then she watches through the open window, smelling the recent rain and seeing the spots of blue coming through the clouds. She hears a street seller and birds chirping. Someone somewhere is singing. The world, the world seems to have gone on unchanged. In that moment, she stares at the skies and sends an idea coming to her. Then she says to herself, "Free." At this point, at this point, her life has changed not only because of the loss of her husband, but also from the realization she is no longer feels repressed, but can now make all choices in the direction of her life. Her sister comes to the bedroom to coax her out, and they go downstairs together. Then the door opens and walks in her husband Bentley. He was not killed after all. The shock of seeing him triggers Louis' heart's condition and she dies. The joy is not it is not the joy that kills, the doctor believes, but more likely the disappointment that only Louis and the reader knows about. About Kate Copley. She she was the only one of her five siblings to survive into her 20s when she was born in St. Louis in 1950. Her father passed away when she was 5 years old, and she spent her early years surrounded by women, her mother, her grandmother, her great grandmother, and the nuns who oversaw her education. Kate Chopin wedded Oscar Chopin in 1870, and they both relocated to New Orleans, where they lived and had six kids. To the dismay of the other New Orleans housewives in her social circle, Chopin was an independent spirit who smoked cigarettes, traveled alone about the city, and engaged in impersonated debates with others about politics and social issues. Her husband passed away suddenly not long after the family had relocated to Louisiana. Despite her intense grief upon his passing, Chopin finally came to terms with her independence, even going as far as to have an affair with a married man. Soon after, Chopin made her way back to St. Louis, where she would stay for the rest of her life. The irony of the story. The story is an iconic one because Mrs. Millard looks forward to a long life without her husband having to control her life. But with a shock and seeing it was all a big misunderstanding and her husband is still alive, she is killed instantly. The story is very ironic because the says she had died of a heart disease of a joy that kills. The conflict and climax. Miss Maynard desires to grieve for her husband's death versus her true feelings of relief and the joy that gains through the freedom she gets from his death. The conflict is resolved when she gives into her feelings relief and joy when she says, "Free, free, free." After this point, she was no longer fear, fears or tries to fight the feelings that came to her upon hearing the passing of her husband's death. And I thank you.